This is Alex Mercer, and with me is my co-host, Tokyo. You're listening to a special global emergency broadcast, a transmission cutting through what's left of the static. What began as a quiet night, a night like any other, has turned into a moment the world will never forget. For months, scientists have whispered warnings that the planet was holding its breath, that something deep beneath us was stirring. Minor tremors along the Pacific plate, strange vibrations recorded thousands of meters below the crust, magnetic irregularities rippling through the ionosphere, all signs that something vast, ancient, and unstoppable was building in the darkness beneath our feet. But warnings are easy to dismiss until the ground itself decides to speak. Tonight, that silence, the silence of centuries, has finally been broken.
Across Asia, the Pacific, and the Americas, seismic sensors are lighting up like storm clouds in a digital sky. Data feeds are flooding the networks, jagged waves, overlapping signals, entire regions trembling in unison. Early reports suggest a rupture so deep, so powerful, it may have torn through multiple tectonic layers, slicing straight through the bones of the planet. The preliminary readings, they're beyond anything our instruments were ever designed to measure. Some stations are showing a magnitude above 10.8. Others have spiked off the scale entirely, their needles frozen at maximum deflection. Communication lines are falling silent one by one. Satellite uplinks are failing faster than agencies can issue alerts. It's as if the Earth itself is trying to erase our ability to comprehend what's happening.
We are not just witnessing an earthquake. This is something far greater. This could be a full tectonic event, the kind geologists once believed was impossible. A chain reaction spanning continents, an immense release of energy that's been locked away for millions of years. Imagine the Earth as a single living organism, veins of molten rock pulsing beneath a fragile crust. And tonight, that organism exhaled in fury. The plates that cradle our continents have begun to slide and shatter like fractured glass. From Tokyo to San Francisco, from Santiago to Jakarta, cities thousands of kilometers apart are reporting tremors in perfect synchrony. Satellites above are capturing cracks forming across coastlines, glowing fissures stretching for hundreds of miles, as if the very skin of the planet is tearing open beneath the moonlight.
We're receiving fragmented reports from around the Pacific Rim, Japan, Chile, Alaska, New Zealand, all at once. Entire stretches of oceanic crust are shifting. Scientists have started calling it the planetary rupture. The origin point, they believe, lies somewhere near the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth, where the Pacific plate dives beneath the Philippine plate. It's the kind of location where the planet hides its greatest pressures, its most violent secrets. If the rupture began there and propagated upward, the sheer force could have split thousands of kilometers of crust in a single cascade. To put it in perspective, the energy released in just the first seconds of this event would equal the combined detonation of millions of nuclear warheads. The sea itself is trembling, waves rising without wind, the horizon bending as pressure tears through the ocean floor.
For decades, the scientific community debated whether a magnitude 11 quake could even exist. The Richter scale, after all, was never meant to describe destruction on this level. Most dismissed the theory outright. They said the Earth simply couldn't store that much energy without disintegrating. But that's exactly what seems to be happening now. Fault lines are connecting across the globe like veins of lightning, one rupture feeding another. It's like watching a spider web tear apart from its center, each strand snapping, sending tremors that race outward, breaking the next and the next. A planetary cascade. We are watching the Earth lose structural stability in real time, and no one, not even the most advanced simulation, ever predicted it could unfold this fast.
The reports coming in are almost impossible to process. Power grids have failed across the Pacific coast. Entire cities in California, Peru, and Indonesia are now without light. Seismic waves are being detected all the way through the planet's core, the kind of oscillations that can only mean the entire globe is flexing, bending under its own force. Satellites in low orbit are losing position. Their guidance systems are confused, struggling to correct for micro-changes in Earth's rotation speed. Yes, you heard that right. The rotation itself has shifted. According to data from the European Space Agency, the planet's moment of inertia has changed. That means the quake didn't just shake our continents. It literally altered the shape of the Earth.
It's hard to put into words what that means. For the first time, humanity is confronting the raw, unfiltered power of the world beneath us. Forces that predate our species. Forces that shaped mountains and oceans long before we ever learned to stand. In the coming hours, tsunamis will rise across every ocean basin. Volcanoes dormant for centuries could awaken as pressure redistributes through the mantle. Coastlines might vanish, reshaped in minutes by walls of water and collapsing cliffs. But for now, all we can do is wait. The world holds its breath again, not in anticipation, but in grief. Humanity stands together, listening to the sound of the earth crying out. This isn't just geology anymore. This is history, written in fractures and fire.
To those of you still hearing this broadcast, stay calm, move inland, stay away from coastlines and river valleys. If you can see the sea, you're too close. Find high ground and stay there. Keep your radios powered if possible. Information is your lifeline now. We'll keep transmitting as long as we can. For now, this is Tokyo and Alex Mercer, broadcasting from an undisclosed location somewhere inland. The Earth has broken in half. And as we look out over the dark horizon, lightning flashing through clouds of dust, one truth settles in. The night has only just begun. United States, seismic alarms are still screaming across California, Oregon, and Washington. Entire stretches of coastline have vanished beneath walls of water. What began in Japan as a deep subduction quake has now triggered secondary ruptures along the Aleutian Arc, the Cascadia subduction zone, and even the San Andreas Fault. Scientists are calling it a synchronized destabilization, an event that, until today, existed only in theoretical models. The ring of fire stretching from New Zealand to Alaska and down through Chile has become a single, continuous line of movement. One unbroken pulse of destruction encircling the Pacific Ocean.
For years, seismologists warned that the Ring of Fire was a sleeping giant, a network of interlocked tectonic systems capable of feeding energy from one fault to another. But until now, the Earth had always seemed to limit itself. One quake would relieve pressure here, another there. Tonight, that balance is gone. It's as if the planet's stress points have begun to communicate, one rupture triggering the next in perfect, merciless sequence. From orbit, satellite imagery shows ripples spreading outward like concentric circles on a pond. Except the pond is the size of an ocean, and each wave is made of rock and molten fire.
Reports are still coming in, fragmented and distorted. In the Philippines, the ground split open near Manila Bay, swallowing highways and neighborhoods in seconds. In Chile, coastal towns have been erased by tsunamis more than 30 meters high. Across the Pacific, sensors are failing faster than new data can be recorded. The Pacific Rim has become a circle of flame and water, volcanoes erupting simultaneously, steam and ash rising high enough to blot out the sun in entire regions. The air is thick, the horizon is gone. For the first time in human history, half the planet is trembling in unison.
What makes this even more terrifying is how fast it's happening. The domino effect. That's what scientists feared most. When a massive quake hits, It sends waves of energy through the crust. Usually, those waves dissipate harmlessly. But sometimes, if the conditions are right, they can trigger other faults thousands of kilometers away. That's what we're seeing now. Each rupture along the Pacific Rim is passing its strain energy into the next. One quake feeds another, each one larger and more violent than the last. It's no longer a sequence of events. It's a single planet-scale motion, the Earth flexing, convulsing, and reshaping itself in real time.
We're now entering what geologists are calling the 24-hour apocalypse, a period of constant seismic activity that's expected to last through the night and into tomorrow. Entire populations are on the move. Coastal evacuations are underway, but the scale of this event makes coordination almost impossible. Communications across the Pacific are intermittent. Undersea cables have snapped. Satellite networks are degraded by ionized dust and volcanic ash. Emergency services are overwhelmed. The United Nations has declared a global state of geological emergency, something that has never happened before in recorded history.
To those listening right now, this is more than just a scientific event. It's a moment of reckoning. For centuries, humanity has lived along the edges of this vast ocean, drawn by its beauty, its resources, its promise. Cities, trade routes, civilizations, all built on what we thought was stable ground. But the Pacific was never asleep. It was only waiting, and now it has remembered its strength. The land itself is rewriting its boundaries, tearing open mountains and swallowing islands. Entire coastlines are shifting, the map of the world redrawn with every aftershock.
In Tokyo, the city that shares my name, we can still see faint glows on the horizon where fires burn uncontrolled. The skyline flickers between power outages and bursts of lightning. Every tremor brings a new wave of fear, and yet the people are calm, disciplined, enduring. From my vantage point here, I can feel the building tremble beneath my feet. But I keep my hand on this microphone because that's what we must do. We speak, we document, we endure. To our listeners in Japan, New Zealand, California, Chile, and across the islands of the Pacific, you are not alone. The world is shaking with you.
Scientists say this may be the most complex seismic event in planetary history. It's as if the Pacific Ocean, the largest single feature on Earth, has come alive, thrashing against its borders. The name Ring of Fire was always poetic, but tonight it's literal. Volcanic arcs are lighting up from Indonesia to Alaska, a chain of infernos wrapping the planet in a thin red line. The sound of it, even from space, is like thunder made of stone. Humanity's instruments are struggling to keep up, and our understanding of geology itself is being rewritten as we speak.
Before this broadcast ends, one final message. If you can still hear us, remember this. The Earth has always been in motion. It was never ours to control, only to respect. The Pacific has lived for billions of years, and tonight it's reminding us of that. Stay calm, stay vigilant, and if you can, help one another. The sky may be dark, the air filled with ash, but this night will pass. We'll keep this signal alive as long as we can. This is Tokyo, alongside Alex Mercer, broadcasting from a temporary emergency station. The Ring of Fire has ignited, and the day the Pacific died has begun.
Hold on to hope. The Earth will settle, even if humanity must begin again. Until the next transmission, stay safe, stay strong.
Across the coastal region, power lines sway like pendulums, and sirens echo through the night. The ground has been shaking for nearly 5 minutes straight, an eternity for anyone trapped inside collapsing buildings or clinging to the remnants of a highway overpass. Reports confirm that the rupture began offshore, roughly 90 kilometers west of Newport, Oregon. The fault line has slipped. A full section of the Juan de Fuca plate has plunged beneath the North American plate in one violent motion. The release of energy is unimaginable, equivalent to hundreds of millions of tons of TNT detonating simultaneously beneath the sea floor. What was once a theory has now become a reality. The Cascadia event is happening right now.
For years, scientists warned that this was inevitable. Beneath the tranquil forests and quiet coastal towns of the Pacific Northwest lay a ticking time bomb. The Cascadia subduction zone had been locked for more than 3 centuries, storing energy, straining like a coiled spring. The last time it broke was on January 26, 1700. The quake was so massive that it sent a tsunami across the Pacific Ocean, striking Japan hours later with waves over 10 meters high. Back then, no one in North America could write down what happened, but the stories lived on. The tales of the ground that wouldn't stop shaking, of villages swallowed by the sea, and of forests turned into graveyards of ghostly, waterlogged trees.
Those ghost forests, the remains of ancient cedar and spruce trees, still stand today along the Washington coast. Their roots tell a silent story of sudden subsidence. The land dropped by meters in a matter of minutes. For centuries, they were a mystery until geologists pieced together the evidence. The tree rings, the sand layers, and the Japanese tsunami records all pointed to one undeniable conclusion. Cascadia had unleashed one of the most powerful earthquakes in recorded history, and now, 325 years later, it's doing it again.
Seismographs across North America are peaking off-scale. The tremor's magnitude is already estimated to exceed 9.2, a megathrust event on par with the 2011 Tohoku quake in Japan, or even greater. Coastal cities like Astoria, Seaside, and Crescent City have already issued evacuation orders, but communications are breaking down faster than warnings can spread. Entire sections of coastline are sinking, rivers reversing flow, and the seafloor itself is heaving upward. Beneath the ocean, a massive wall of water is forming, a tsunami that could reach the shore in less than 15 minutes.
The wave? It's already visible on NOAA's satellite radar, 12 meters high near the point of origin and still rising as it moves inland. Emergency systems are overwhelmed. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has issued red alerts from Northern California to Vancouver Island. The US Navy has moved ships to deeper waters, while the Coast Guard is struggling to respond to distress calls coming in by the hundreds. This isn't just a coastal event. It's the kind of disaster that reshapes maps.
Inside Seattle, Portland, and smaller inland towns, people are reporting scenes of chaos and disbelief. Highways are fractured, bridges swaying like ribbons, and buildings crumbling in rhythmic waves. Scientists describe this as a full margin rupture. The entire 1,000 kilometer length of the Cascadia Fault breaking in one continuous chain reaction. The shaking, they say, could last as long as 6 minutes. 6 minutes of the earth convulsing, tearing apart concrete, steel, and soil. It's more than just motion. It's the crust of our planet shifting under the weight of its own pressure.
The aftershocks have already begun, one striking near the Oregon coast at magnitude 7.5, another near Vancouver at 7.8. These are not minor tremors, they're catastrophic on their own, but they're only echoes of the main rupture. Scientists monitoring from remote stations say this is the largest geological event in modern US history. The seafloor has dropped in some places by more than 6 meters. That displacement is now pushing the tsunami forward, and it's moving fast. The first waves have already reached Cannon Beach and Newport. Witnesses describe a roar like an oncoming freight train, followed by walls of water devouring entire towns in seconds.
For the first time in history, we're watching the Pacific Northwest transform in real time. Entire communities are disappearing beneath the surge. The coastline is being redrawn by nature itself. Roads that once led to the sea now lead into nothing but floodwater and debris. Power plants are shutting down, airports submerged, and communication lines severed. This is not a distant tragedy. It's unfolding across America's forgotten edge.
And yet what makes this story more haunting is that it was foretold. Scientists, geologists, and emergency planners have been warning for decades that this would come. They mapped the fault, they modelled the waves, they even published estimates of destruction, predicting tens of thousands dead and millions displaced. But preparations were slow, funding was scarce, few believed the silence beneath their feet could one day become a roar. And now the roar has come.
As we broadcast tonight, the shaking continues inland. The ground in Portland is still trembling, rivers are flooding, and emergency beacons flicker faintly in the darkness. Helicopter footage, shaky and fragmented, shows vast stretches of land now underwater, while the fires from ruptured gas lines burn above the waves. It's an image both apocalyptic and deeply human, a reminder that our civilization is only a guest upon the surface of a restless planet.
If you're listening to this broadcast, stay calm, move to higher ground, avoid bridges, avoid coastlines. Emergency shelters are being established on elevated terrain near the Cascades and eastern Washington. Do not return to the shore. The tsunami comes in waves, not one, but many, each one stronger than the last. For those inland, prepare for aftershocks that could last for months. The Earth has shifted, and it will take time to settle.
This is not just a story of destruction. It's also a story of rediscovery, of how fragile our existence truly is, and how easily the planet reminds us of its power. The Cascadia subduction zone may have been silent for centuries, but it was never gone. It was only waiting. Tonight it spoke again, with the voice of the Earth itself, deep and ancient, reminding us that we are small, and that the world we build stands on borrowed ground.
We'll remain on the air as long as possible. This is Tokyo, alongside Alex Mercer, broadcasting through the static, through the chaos, and through the shaking that hasn't yet stopped. Tonight, America remembers what it forgot, that beneath every calm horizon lies something ancient, patient, and unstoppable, settles after the screaming stops. The city that once pulsed with traffic, laughter, and light now moves only with the wind. Concrete dust drifts through the avenues like fog. Every echo, a collapsing building, a distant siren, or a cry for help, cuts through the emptiness. We've walked these streets for hours, and every corner tells the same story: shattered glass, fractured roads, and a sky choked with smoke. Yet, within this devastation, there are flickers of life, small, fragile, but defiant.
Rescue teams are working through what's left of the downtown district. They've turned office towers into makeshift triage centers. Flashlights sweep through twisted steel and broken elevators, searching for any sign of movement. The city's main hospital stands on emergency power, its lower floors flooded by ruptured water mains. Doctors are treating patients in parking lots beneath tarps and generator light. Supplies are running low: saline bags, antibiotics, even clean water. Every life pulled from the debris feels like a victory carved out of chaos.
We spoke with a firefighter moments ago, his uniform torn and his face streaked with soot. He hasn't slept in nearly 30 hours. He told us that the hardest part isn't the danger, it's the sound. You hear voices, he said, faint ones, people trapped somewhere in the dark. You dig, and sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. His words carry the weight of 1,000 rescues that came too late. Still, they keep going. They climb through collapsed tunnels, through buildings that lean like dying giants, because giving up would mean the city truly dies.
The nights are the worst. When the aftershocks come, they ripple through the ruins like thunder underfoot. Survivors huddle together in parks and open fields, wrapped in blankets and fear. Fires burn across the hillsides, and the stars above are brighter than they've been in years, a cruel contrast to the darkness below. From the harbor, we can see ships anchored offshore, their lights blinking faintly. They're waiting, carrying aid, supplies, perhaps even hope. But the ports are destroyed, and the waters are too shallow for them to reach. The world is watching, but help still feels oceans away.
On the edge of the old business district, we found what used to be a radio station. The antenna still stands, bent but alive. That's where we are now, broadcasting from the ruins, using backup batteries and scavenged transmitters. Around us, a small group of volunteers, students, journalists, ordinary citizens, have built a communication hub. They're collecting messages from survivors and relaying them to rescue teams beyond the city. Every new transmission is a lifeline, a pulse of humanity echoing through the static.
In the heart of the city, beneath the dust and despair, stories continue to unfold. A mother searching for her son who was last seen near the riverfront. A retired engineer rigging car batteries to power medical equipment. A group of teenagers clearing rubble to make paths for emergency vehicles. These moments don't make headlines, but they are the heartbeat of survival. When systems collapse, it's people who rebuild from instinct, from love, from the refusal to surrender.
The scientists who predicted this quake, they warned us about the plates, the fault lines, the seismic cycles. But what they couldn't predict was the human aftermath, the way society bends, but somehow doesn't completely break. In makeshift shelters, strangers are sharing food, water, and stories. A single candle becomes a beacon for dozens. And even as the Earth continues to tremble, humanity finds a rhythm. Slow, uncertain, but steady enough to remind us we're still here.
48 hours after the quake, the rescue window begins to close. Search dogs are still moving through the debris, their handlers whispering prayers between calls. Every beep of the locator devices brings a rush of adrenaline, another faint chance that someone is still alive beneath the rubble. Scientists from the Geological Survey have arrived by helicopter, setting up portable labs to study the fault displacement. They're saying this city experienced a once-in-a-millennium rupture, one that shifted the coastline by several meters. The land itself has changed shape, a permanent scar on the map of the Earth.
Even with that knowledge, even knowing the science behind it, standing here feels unreal. The ground hums beneath our feet, the air still charged with tension. Every sound could be another collapse. Yet people keep moving. Nurses walking barefoot through glass, rescue teams pulling bodies and survivors side by side. There's a strange rhythm to it, like the city breathing again, slowly, painfully. The fear hasn't gone away, but neither has the will to endure.
From this vantage point, the city seems endless, a maze of broken highways and smoke trails. But inside that maze are people lighting fires to keep warm, hanging white cloths from rooftops to signal survivors, and singing softly to drown out the silence. This is life after the quake, stripped of noise, stripped of comfort, but somehow still alive. Humanity in its rawest form, clinging to the edge of ruin.
In a way, this disaster has forced everyone to listen, to the sound of the earth, to each other, to the fragility of everything we build. 48 hours ago, this was a city of millions. Now it's a collection of survivors learning how to begin again. Tomorrow, the rescue operations will continue, aid will come, the first power grids will flicker back on. But the memories of these days, the fear, the unity, the silence, will never leave.
If you can hear us out there, wherever you are, know that you're not alone. We're still here. We're still transmitting. This is not the end. The city may be broken, but its people are not.
And this is Tokyo, holding the line one broadcast at a time. The quake may have taken our skyline, but not our voice. Places there simply wasn't enough time. The wave was too fast, too vast. The Pacific, once calm and infinite, became a wall, 30 meters high in some regions, racing at the speed of a jet. Satellite feeds show entire islands swallowed in minutes. From space, the wave looks like a rolling scar of silver blue, cutting across the ocean like the heartbeat of a wounded planet. Scientists are calling it the most powerful tsunami in human history, one that has already travelled farther, faster, and stronger than any before it.
Across Japan, alarms still echo through the valleys. Highways jammed with evacuating families. The government has ordered full coastal withdrawal, but the water has already reached inland towns once thought safe. Reports describe the sea pulling away, retreating hundreds of meters, exposing coral reefs, shipwrecks, and fish flopping helplessly on the sand. The ancient warning sign. And then the roar. It sounds like thunder, a storm, and an earthquake combined. When it hits, it doesn't crash like a wave. It rises, slow and unstoppable, devouring streets, ports, and memories.
Hawaii had 6 hours to prepare. Every siren blared, every phone vibrated with alerts. On Oahu, helicopters circled the coastline, urging people to climb to higher ground. But even preparation wasn't enough. The wave wrapped around the islands from both directions, striking with a force that shattered piers and dragged entire neighborhoods into the sea. The cameras on Diamond Head caught the moment the Pacific rolled over Waikiki, a single endless wall of churning grey. The city lights went out one by one until only the glow of fires remained.
Thousands of miles away, along the coast of California, the first surge arrived at dawn. Santa Cruz, Monterey, Crescent City, the same towns hit by smaller tsunamis decades ago, are now unrecognizable. The ocean pushed rivers backward, tore through marinas, and lifted ships onto rooftops. Emergency responders describe water rushing through the streets faster than cars could drive. In San Francisco Bay, container ships snapped their moorings and collided like toys. The Golden Gate Bridge stands, but its base is submerged. The West Coast has become an inland sea.
South America wasn't spared either. Chile, Peru, and Ecuador, the same nations that live on the trembling edge of the Pacific, were struck by the second pulse nearly 12 hours after the quake. The timing offered false hope. People returned to coastal homes, unaware that the ocean still held a second surge of energy. When it came, it was even higher. Valparaiso vanished beneath 30 feet of water. In Lima, emergency broadcasts cut out mid-sentence. The global network is failing, fiber cables severed, satellites struggling to stabilize. The planet's oceans have turned hostile, and communication itself is drowning.
Across the world, scientists are huddled in data centers, watching the impossible unfold. The wave, now weakened, continues its march beyond the Pacific. It crosses into the Indian Ocean, distorting tides and currents. Sensors in the Maldives and Madagascar detect surges hours ahead of schedule, proof that the entire planet is connected by one restless body of water. The Atlantic is next. Coastlines from South Africa to Argentina brace for impact. Even Europe and the eastern seaboard of the United States have issued maritime evacuation warnings. The sea, once our boundary, has become our reminder that no border can hold back Earth's fury.
I'm standing near what used to be a harbour, now a lake of twisted metal and driftwood. The air smells of salt, fuel, and silence. Survivors wander the wreckage, clutching photographs and fragments of their homes. One man tells me he ran when the water receded, but lost everything in the return. His voice breaks as he says, "The ocean remembered us." There's a strange poetry in that the same waters that gave us life have the power to erase it, and yet somehow leave behind the will to rebuild.
Emergency relief teams from around the world are converging on the Pacific Rim, Japan, Indonesia, the Americas. But the scale is beyond comprehension. Ports are gone, runways submerged, roads cut off. Humanity has been pushed inland, forced to start again where the sea can't reach. For the first time in centuries, coastal civilization, the very foundation of our global economy and culture, has been pulled back by the tide. Scientists estimate that over 10% of the world's population has been displaced. We are, in every sense, an oceanic species, now living without an ocean.
But even amid the devastation, something stirs. The same resilience we've heard before, in every city, in every broadcast. In Chile, a schoolteacher is leading survivors to higher ground. In Japan, monks are ringing temple bells to mark each hour of survival. In Hawaii, volunteers are clearing roads to reach stranded families. Around the world, humanity's response is the same: adapt, endure, remember. The sea took everything it could, but it couldn't take that.
As we speak, the last remnants of the wave are dissipating in the Arctic. It has circled the globe, crossed every ocean, and touched nearly every continent. It began as a tremor, an unseen rupture deep below the surface, and became a message from the planet itself. We build on the edges of something ancient, something alive, and sometimes it reminds us who's in control.
If you can still hear our voice, remember this moment. The ocean is not our enemy, it's our mirror. It reflects our strength, our fragility, and our need to coexist with forces far older than us. The tsunami has crossed the world, but so will we, rebuilding, reconnecting, and reimagining what life means. By the shore dot across Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, seismic sensors are lighting up. What started as faint tremors deep below the Great Rift Valley has grown into a full tectonic awakening. The rift, a scar stretching over 6,000 kilometers, is widening at an accelerated rate. Entire valleys are dropping, fissures are opening overnight, and villages once miles apart are now separated by chasms. Scientists have recorded one of the most significant continental ruptures in modern history. The African plate is splitting in two, and in its place, a new ocean is being born.
Imagine watching a continent take its first breath. The ground rumbles, hills tilt, and from deep within the mantle, magma begins to rise. Glowing red veins of molten rock tracing invisible fault lines beneath the soil. Across the Afar Triangle in Ethiopia, the surface fractures with a sound like thunder rolling through stone. In some areas, the rift widens by several meters in a single night. Satellite imagery reveals the truth. Africa is dividing, not by war or politics, but by the slow, patient force of geology.
The rift follows an ancient scar that has been developing for millions of years, the East African Rift System. It's here that two massive tectonic plates, the Nubian and Somali, are drifting apart at about 2 centimeters per year. But tonight, that movement has accelerated 1,000-fold. The pressure that has built over eons is releasing all at once, producing earthquakes so deep they register differently from anything seen before. Seismologists describe them as mantle-borne quakes, ruptures that cut through both crust and core, altering the planet's balance itself.
Along the valley floor, geysers erupt from new vents, and rivers shift their courses. The smell of sulfur fills the air. In places like Dabahu and Erta Ale, the earth is bleeding. Volcanoes awakening from centuries of dormancy, spilling fire into the growing chasm. From space, plumes of ash rise like threads of smoke marking the boundaries of the newborn divide. It's not destruction in the usual sense. It's creation. The death of land, yes, but also the birth of ocean.
Reports from the ground are astonishing. Roads vanish overnight, Power lines twist and collapse. Entire farmlands are split clean in half, as though sliced by an invisible blade. In Kenya's Rift Valley, a new fissure nearly 15 meters wide opened beneath a highway, swallowing vehicles whole. Geologists call it a rift jump, when subterranean faults suddenly connect, transferring strain across hundreds of kilometers. What was once stable ground has become liquid stone.
But not all is chaos. For scientists, this is a once-in-a-civilization event, a rare glimpse into the process that shaped every ocean basin on Earth. The Red Sea began the same way. So did the Atlantic, hundreds of millions of years ago, when the supercontinent Pangaea fractured. We are witnessing the same cycle of rebirth, only this time in real time, the Earth renewing itself, line by line, fault by fault.
Satellite data confirms that seawater from the Red Sea has begun to seep into the lowest reaches of the rift. It's subtle now, thin fingers of water pooling between black basalt walls. But in time, these channels will expand into an inland sea. Within tens of thousands of years, East Africa will no longer be connected to the mainland. A vast new ocean will form, separating Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya from the rest of the continent. The geography of the world map will change forever.
Humanity rarely gets to witness the beginning of a new world. Yet that's exactly what's unfolding beneath the African sky. Scientists on the ground describe a strange beauty in the devastation. The shimmering heat, the glowing magma, the endless rumble beneath their feet. One researcher compared it to listening to the planet breathe. And in a way, that's what this is. The Earth inhaling, stretching, preparing to reshape itself once again.
Villages near the Afar Depression are being evacuated as new fissures continue to open. Aid convoys are struggling to reach remote regions. The roads themselves shift daily. For those living here, it's not an abstract geological process. It's survival. Families gather their belongings, watching the land that raised them slowly slip away. There's a haunting image from Ethiopia tonight. A church standing alone on one side of a new canyon, its congregation stranded on the other.
And yet, even here there is hope. From Kenya to Tanzania, scientists are deploying sensors and drones, documenting every change, every tremor, every plume of gas. They're not just recording a disaster, they're witnessing a beginning. In time, coral reefs will grow along these rift edges. Rainwater will pool into saltwater bays. Life, microscopic at first, then vast, will return to fill the gap. The same Earth that breaks will always find a way to heal.
The African rift is not just a scar, it's a promise. A reminder that the planet is alive, evolving, restless. It doesn't destroy out of malice, but out of motion. This is how continents breathe, how oceans rise, how life finds new homes. What we see as an ending is only the planet turning a page.
As we continue our coverage, the tremors persist. The rift widens, the magma rises, and a new coastline begins to take shape beneath the dust. For now, humanity can only watch, record, and remember that we stand upon a living world, one that will outlast us all. The planet itself will not stop moving.
Across every continent, the ground still trembles. The tremors come in waves, sometimes mild, sometimes violent, but never completely still. Cities once thought stable now sway like ships at sea. Buildings creak even in calm moments, glass windows hum under invisible pressure, and people sleep in the open, too afraid to trust the floors beneath them. Scientists call it seismic resonance, but to those living through it, it feels like the planet has developed a pulse.
Every fault line on Earth seems to be talking to another. Sensors in Japan pick up echoes from Chile. Vibrations from Alaska mirror quakes in Indonesia. It's as if the crust has become one continuous drum, reverberating endlessly. Aftershocks were supposed to fade, That's what the models said. But instead, they've multiplied. The pattern defies prediction. One scientist described it as the Earth caught in its own feedback loop, like a bell that can't stop ringing.
And the toll on humanity is staggering. Power grids flicker under constant stress. Subways remain closed because even minor shifts threaten collapse. Bridges twist, foundations crumble, and skyscrapers sway with ghost-like motion. Engineers describe the sensation of watching concrete breathe. Hospitals run triage on exhaustion as much as injury. Sleepless citizens, endless fear, the psychological weight of a world that refuses to stand still.
The science is still being rewritten in real time. Normally, after a large quake, tectonic stress redistributes and settles. But in this event, the redistribution never stabilized. It's as though the initial rupture woke up deeper layers of the mantle, layers that continue to shift and grind, long after the surface should have quieted. Some believe the megaquake created a new kind of seismic condition, a planet perpetually out of equilibrium.
Reports from the Pacific Rim describe waves in the ground that move like tides, slow undulations you can feel but barely see. Entire coastlines breathe in rhythm with invisible forces. The Earth's crust has become fluid, elastic, unpredictable. Instruments record tremors that last hours instead of seconds. It's not just aftershocks, it's a continuous vibration, an unending resonance that travels through mountains and oceans alike.
In Northern California, scientists at the Cascadia Seismic Network recorded what they're calling the endless wave, a pulse that circled the globe 12 times without fading. Normally, seismic waves lose strength as they disperse. This one hasn't. Every orbit seems to re-energize it, feeding off the same crustal instability that created it. Some believe the planet is now in a kind of seismic feedback, each tremor reinforcing the next, creating a never-ending chain.
People are adapting in strange ways. Across Asia, markets have moved to open fields, where the ground may still shake, but nothing can fall. Families build temporary homes from shock-absorbing materials, flexible bamboo, reinforced fabric. Even language is changing. In Japan, the word for stillness has become symbolic, an idea more than a reality. Children have grown up knowing nothing but the tremor beneath their feet. For them, motion is normal. Stillness is myth.
Governments have stopped promising an end. Instead, they're talking about endurance, about learning to live in a moving world. Seismic engineers are reimagining architecture for permanent vibration. Entire cities are being rebuilt on floating foundations, designed to flex instead of fight. It's survival through surrender, humanity bending with the planet instead of breaking against it.
But the psychological weight is different. The constant trembling has changed how people think, how they sleep, even how they breathe. Psychologists call it ground fatigue. Without moments of calm, the human body forgets what stability feels like. The line between motion and anxiety blurs. Every vibration becomes a phantom quake. Is it real or just memory? Across the world, people are listening to the Earth's heartbeat and wondering if it will ever slow down.
In scientific circles, some are beginning to call this phenomenon the never-ending quake. It's not a poetic title, it's literal. Data shows the planet's seismic energy has not dropped below baseline since the event began. The mantle is still shifting, magma chambers are still resonating, and the crust continues to realign itself inch by inch. The Earth is rewriting its balance, maybe even its shape.
Theories vary wildly. Some suggest that the quake disrupted a global stress pattern so completely that equilibrium may not return for decades. Others fear something deeper, that this is part of a larger planetary cycle, one that resets the crust every few million years. If that's true, then we're witnessing the beginning of something vast, an age of geological unrest.
Every day feels like an echo of the first. The alarms never stop. Scientists sleep in shifts beside seismographs, listening to their instruments hum with constant activity. One researcher described it as listening to the planet hum in pain. Yet, within that sound, there's a strange beauty, a rhythm older than civilization, a pulse that reminds us that beneath our cities and stories, we live atop a living, breathing giant.
Tonight, the tremors continue. A soft vibration rolls beneath us as we speak. Somewhere, deep in the mantle, the Earth is still adjusting, still moving, still alive. For humanity, this is not the end of the quake. It's the beginning of a new kind of existence, one where the ground may never be still again. We've covered quakes before. We've reported on disasters that reshaped regions and lives. But this is different. It started 3 hours ago when seismic sensors in the Pacific lit up with a massive rupture near the Tonga Trench. Before analysts could calculate the magnitude, alarms in Chile began to scream. Moments later, stations in Alaska, Kamchatka, and even the Mediterranean registered simultaneous activity. The signals were too synchronized to be coincidence, almost as if each quake was triggering another halfway across the planet.
The world's leading seismological agencies are scrambling to make sense of it. The United States Geological Survey, Japan's meteorological agency, and the European Space Observatory have formed a joint emergency task force. But their models can't keep up. Fault systems thousands of kilometers apart are reacting in perfect rhythm, their seismic energy echoing through the planet's crust. One theory suggests that a deep mantle wave, an ultra-low frequency vibration, is propagating beneath the surface, linking the plates like strings of an instrument, each note awakening the next.
Right now, communication networks are collapsing under the strain. Satellites are being knocked offline by electromagnetic interference believed to be caused by piezoelectric bursts from deep-seated quartz under extreme pressure. Entire sections of the global internet are flickering. Undersea cables running through the Pacific and Atlantic are being physically displaced by tectonic shifts, snapping connections between continents. We're broadcasting through a relay of emergency satellites, the last intact network still orbiting the planet.
It's as if the Earth has become one connected machine, each gear forcing the next to move. And scientists are beginning to realize just how intertwined these fault systems truly are. For years, we thought each plate was independent, separated by ridges, trenches, and oceans. But new data suggests that the entire crust operates more like a single, vast tension web. When one strand breaks, the energy doesn't stop. It races outward, traveling through the mantle, awakening other weaknesses, other boundaries. What we're seeing tonight may be the first planetary-scale tectonic reaction ever observed.
Governments are issuing conflicting reports. Some agencies are downplaying the event, calling it a series of coincidental ruptures. Others, particularly independent observatories, are warning this may be the beginning of a global adjustment, a tectonic realignment of the Earth's crust. Theories range from gravitational fluctuations to geomagnetic disturbances in the outer core. But one idea keeps resurfacing. The Earth might be rebalancing its internal stresses, equalizing millions of years of accumulated pressure in a single chain of motion.
NASA has confirmed strange readings from their orbital instruments. The planet's shape, its geoid, has shifted slightly in just the past hour. That means the entire mass distribution of the Earth is changing. The crust, mantle, even the molten core beneath us are in motion. Imagine the surface of a balloon tightening in one place and relaxing in another. That's what's happening. Except the balloon is our planet. These changes are affecting everything from ocean tides to atmospheric pressure. Weather systems are destabilizing, jet streams are stuttering, and lightning storms are forming spontaneously over seismic zones.
In Africa, reports are coming in from the East African Rift. The ground there, already fragile from decades of slow movement, has split open further. In Iceland, fissures are releasing columns of gas. Across the Mediterranean, ancient fault lines under Greece and Turkey have reignited. It's as if every sleeping fault on Earth woke up at once, stretching, groaning and shifting in perfect unison. Some geologists describe it as the planet adjusting its spine. Others simply call it the moment the Earth decided to move as one.
Inside research centers, there's panic and awe. Every sensor, every satellite, every system designed to measure earthquakes is overloaded. Seismic stations are maxing out their recorders, their instruments blinking red with unreadable data. Computers designed to process localized events are crashing as they try to model an entire world in motion. For the first time, the data itself is too vast, too chaotic for human systems to comprehend. We're watching the Earth operate on a scale beyond calculation.
Power grids across Asia and South America are down. The vibrations are travelling through undersea crust, affecting power plants and pipelines. In Tokyo, emergency sirens have been blaring for hours. People are gathering in open fields, eyes on the horizon, waiting for whatever comes next. In Chile, entire coastlines have vanished beneath waves, triggered by synchronized subduction. In Alaska, mountains are crumbling into the sea. Across the globe, it's as though every boundary has decided to let go at once.
And still, the question remains, how? How can events separated by oceans happen in lockstep? Some researchers believe the answer lies deep beneath us, in the viscous flow of the mantle itself. Seismic pressure may not move linearly. It could travel through interconnected fault conduits faster than expected, like sound through metal. Once one region ruptured, it may have sent a pulse racing through the entire planet's skeleton. A whisper became a roar, and the roar became a global tremor.
There's an eerie beauty to it if you can separate fear from fascination. Satellite imagery shows the world glowing faintly from space, not from city lights, but from the frictional heat of movement. Volcanoes across the Pacific Ring of Fire are flaring simultaneously. The Earth is venting. Some scientists think this might actually be a stabilizing process, a painful but necessary release. Others warn it's only the beginning, a prelude to something larger.
And so we report, minute by minute, as the planet continues to shift beneath us. What began as scattered tremors has evolved into a unified pattern, a wave of movement that no nation, no scientist, and no model was ready to face. For now, all we can do is watch, record, and hope the chain reaction burns itself out before the crust tears itself apart. This is not just an earthquake. This is the sound of a planet resetting its balance.
To everyone listening, stay alert, remain calm, seek open ground. The quakes are still spreading and scientists are still searching for the pattern, the trigger, the source, the heartbeat that started it all. This is Alex Mercer in Tokyo, broadcasting through what remains of a shaking world.
This is Alex Mercer, continuing our global broadcast. It's been 72 hours since the first chain reaction began. The world still trembles, and now a new anomaly has emerged. Deep beneath the crust, something has shifted. Data from NASA's swarm satellites and the European Space Agency's magnetic probes confirm it. The Earth's magnetic field is destabilizing. Its poles are no longer fixed. The North Magnetic Pole has moved nearly 40 kilometers in a single day. The readings are erratic, inconsistent, almost as if the planet's molten core has begun to drift.
At first, scientists believed it was a data error, interference caused by the ongoing seismic chaos. But the evidence keeps building. Magnetometers around the world are fluctuating wildly. Compasses are failing, GPS systems are off by kilometres. Aircraft navigation systems are losing calibration mid-flight. In some areas, the auroras, once confined to the poles, are now visible far to the south, glowing blood red over Europe, Africa, and parts of the Pacific. Something deep inside the planet's heart is moving.
Geophysicists are calling it the magnetic drift. It appears the molten iron at the Earth's core, the very engine that powers our magnetic field, has begun to flow differently. Normally, the outer core circulates like a slow, steady ocean of fire, generating a stable magnetic shield around the planet. But seismic disturbances from the chain reaction may have altered that balance. For the first time, scientists are considering that tectonic chaos above could be echoing downward, stirring the liquid core, disrupting its rotation.
The implications are staggering. The magnetic field protects us from solar radiation, from cosmic particles, from the raw energy of the sun. If that shield weakens, even slightly, everything changes. Satellites burn out, communications fade, power grids fry under geomagnetic storms. In the last 12 hours alone, 3 major satellite constellations have failed. Pilots report compass needles spinning in circles. In Antarctica, research bases have recorded strange auroral pulses on the horizon, waves of charged particles hitting the atmosphere where they shouldn't.
And it's not just the instruments. Animals are reacting too. Birds have abandoned migration routes. Whales have beached themselves in unprecedented numbers along the Chilean coast. Even in the skies above Europe, flocks of starlings move in chaotic patterns, as if the Earth's invisible map has been redrawn overnight. Magnetic north has become a moving target, wandering across the planet in unpredictable loops.
In laboratories from Geneva to Tokyo, scientists are racing to model what comes next. Some fear we're witnessing the early stages of a magnetic pole reversal, a natural phenomenon that's happened many times in Earth's history, but never this fast. Normally, such a process unfolds over thousands of years. Now, the data suggest it's happening in days. If the poles truly flip, the results could be catastrophic. Our shielding would weaken, cosmic radiation would surge, and electrical infrastructure would collapse worldwide.
The connection between the quakes and the core drift is still being debated. But it's hard to ignore the timing. As the crust fractured and faults awakened, deep sensors began recording seismic waves bouncing through the planet in strange patterns, reflections that don't match known structures. Something inside has changed density. Some scientists believe a massive plume of molten material, a superheated jet from the inner core, is rising toward the mantle, altering the flow of liquid iron. It's as though the heart of the Earth has shifted direction.
And with it, the pulse of the planet. Radio operators across the globe report strange signals, low-frequency tones echoing through the magnetic spectrum, audible to equipment but not to the human ear. Some call it interference, others think it's the planet itself, resonating as its core reorients. Whatever it is, it's spreading. Instruments in Australia, Brazil, and Iceland all detect the same rhythmic pattern, repeating every 43 seconds. A pulse no one can explain.
Governments are going silent. The United Nations has declared a global geophysical emergency. Power grids in Canada and Northern Europe are down due to solar interference. The magnetic shield above them is weakening, allowing radiation to seep through. The skies shimmer with auroral fire, painting the night in streaks of green and crimson. What once marked the beauty of polar light now feels like an omen, the Earth revealing its raw electromagnetic soul.
In the Pacific, ships have gone adrift as navigation fails. Airliners circle without clear heading. Entire communication networks are rerouting through surviving satellites, each one burning fuel faster than it can be replenished. The The sense of direction, once so fundamental to our existence, is collapsing. Even the stars, constant and eternal, seem out of place through the haze of magnetic distortion.
And through it all, the ground continues to tremble. Aftershocks roll through the crust like the planet's heartbeat, synchronized with magnetic fluctuations. It's as if the planet's systems, seismic, thermal, magnetic, have begun to merge, reacting as one colossal organism struggling to find equilibrium. We are witnessing not just a series of disasters, but a transformation.
Scientists from the USGS and NASA are working together to monitor the core drift in real time, but the data grows stranger by the hour. The core's outer layer seems to be spinning at a different speed than the mantle above it. For the first time ever, we're seeing the Earth's layers move out of sync, a planet coming apart in motion, but trying desperately to realign.
No one knows how long we have before the drift stabilizes, or if it ever will. For now, the magnetic poles are moving faster than our instruments can track. Compasses point east one moment, west the next. The lines of force that once wrapped our world in order are unraveling.
To those still listening, this is not the end of the world, but it may be the start of a new one. The Earth is changing, adapting, rewriting its own magnetic code. We may be witnessing the planet's rebirth, one driven by chaos and heat and motion. For now, all we can do is endure, observe, and remember what it felt like when the world still had north and south.
This is Alex Mercer with Tokyo, broadcasting through a fading magnetic storm where every direction feels lost. The chain reaction may have started with quakes, but now the Earth's core itself is moving, and whatever happens next will define the planet's next age.
It started quietly, too quietly for anyone to notice. While the world watched the shifting magnetic field and the restless ground far to the south, beneath the endless white of Antarctica, something else began to stir. Seismic monitors embedded deep within the ice shelf started recording tremors. Faint at first, then stronger, deeper, resonating through solid ice like the strike of a distant drum. The Earth wasn't only shaking where land met land, now it was moving beneath the glaciers.
Reports from research stations near the Ross ice shelf confirm it. The sensors picked up a series of subglacial quakes, long, rolling events unlike anything previously recorded. These weren't shallow fractures or collapsing caverns. They came from deep below, from the rocky bed buried under kilometers of ice. Scientists describe them as tectonic murmurs beneath frozen seas. The quakes seem to be awakening faults long hidden beneath the weight of millennia.
Imagine that, a continent of ice, silent for ages, now trembling. The shockwaves travelled through frozen layers so thick that the vibrations took minutes to reach the surface. Some researchers say they could feel the tremor through their boots. A low vibration, steady, unnatural. Satellite data confirms what they feared. Cracks are appearing along major glacier systems, the Thwaites, Pine Island, and Larsen. From orbit, they look like lightning bolts carved into the ice dot. This is no ordinary melting. The quake activity appears to be fracturing the ice from beneath, allowing warm ocean water to surge upward through the newly formed cracks. That accelerates the melting exponentially. In just 24 hours, ice loss across parts of West Antarctica has doubled. The continent, once thought to be a passive witness to the world's shaking, has become an active part of it, a frozen titan awakening. In Greenland, the story's the same. Instruments positioned across the Jakobshavn Glacier detected deep tremors, microquakes, hundreds per hour, rippling under the ice. Some scientists believe these are triggered by the same seismic waves that began circling the planet after the global chain reaction. The Earth's crust is flexing, transmitting stress into regions that were never meant to move. And when solid ice moves like a liquid, the results can be catastrophic.
NASA's satellite imagery shows immense sections of glacier detaching, drifting into the ocean like floating cities. The shock waves from subglacial quakes travel differently. They resonate through frozen water, amplifying instead of fading. That means every tremor under the ice carries more energy, more reach. It's as if the ice amplifies the planet's pain, echoing it back into the atmosphere.
And that echo is changing the weather. The sudden influx of fresh meltwater into the oceans has already begun to alter global currents. Meteorologists report strange, looping jet streams, massive storms forming where calm seas once were. The balance between ocean temperature and airflow is collapsing. The planet's circulatory system, ocean and wind, is responding to the quake beneath the ice.
We're watching, in real time, the connection between solid rock and frozen water, two realms that were never meant to collide. As tectonic energy surges upward, the ice fractures like glass. The sound is haunting. Recordings from seismic microphones beneath the Antarctic shelf captured what one scientist described as the Earth screaming through ice. A deep groan that rose in pitch until the signal broke apart, the moment the glacier cracked from below.
Across the southern oceans, massive waves are forming, not tsunamis in the traditional sense, but glacial surges. As billions of tons of ice crash into the sea, the displacement sends rolling walls of water outward. Some have already reached remote islands, flooding shorelines that have never known tides this high. The meltwater carries ancient air trapped for thousands of years, now released into an atmosphere already trembling with change.
What we're seeing may be the beginning of a planetary feedback loop. The more the Earth quakes, the more ice fractures. The more ice melts, the more water pressure shifts, altering weight distribution across the crust. That, in turn, triggers more quakes. The system feeds itself. Tectonics driving climate, and climate driving tectonics. It's a cycle without a clear end.
Scientists in Reykjavik and Cape Town are calling this the ice resonance, a global phenomenon where the coldest, stillest places on Earth begin to vibrate with the same pulse that started at the planet's core. The data matches perfectly. Every major icequake corresponds with a magnetic fluctuation and a deep seismic echo. It's all connected now, crust, core, and cryosphere, the living body of Earth reacting as one.
And beneath that frozen continent, something else might be happening. Thermal scans show expanding heat plumes, possibly magma rising under Antarctica's buried volcanoes. If those chambers rupture under kilometers of ice, the resulting steam and gas could trigger a chain of eruptions unseen in human history. Volcanic ash beneath a frozen sky, a contradiction the planet itself may soon create.
For now, the research stations remain online, fragile beacons of knowledge in a collapsing world. Their last transmission before going silent read only one line: "The ice is no longer quiet." And now, as seismic pulses ripple beneath every glacier and iceberg, that truth spreads. The frozen edges of the world are breaking, and the silence of the poles has become part of the planet's storm.
This is Alex Mercer with Tokyo. The quakes beneath the ice continue, growing stronger, deeper, more synchronized. What began as a fracture beneath the Pacific has now reached the coldest corners of the Earth. The ground moves, the seas rise, and even the ice trembles. The planet is speaking in one language now, the language of motion, and we're still listening.
The data coming in from beneath the Antarctic plateau is unlike anything ever recorded. Seismic monitors, deep thermal scans, and electromagnetic readings all point to the same conclusion. The Earth's core is no longer still. Beneath the frozen crust, heat is rising in waves, migrating through mantle plumes that are breaking through the cold rock like molten veins. What was once stable permafrost is now trembling above active magma. Antarctica, the last untouched continent, has begun to burn from below.
Scientists call it subglacial volcanism. It's been theorized for decades, but never seen at this scale. The quakes beneath the ice didn't just fracture glaciers. They cracked the lid on buried volcanoes, mountains trapped beneath kilometers of frozen silence. Now those chambers are breathing again. The first eruptions were muffled, contained under thick ice. But soon, the pressure built too fast. Vast columns of steam erupted through fissures, sending shock waves that cracked the surface wide open. From space, satellites captured what looks like veins of red light, glowing beneath the frozen night.
The collapse of the Thwaites ice shelf triggered the first eruption. The steam burst upward, exploding through ice so thick it shattered like glass. The release of trapped gas echoed through the atmosphere, creating low-frequency sound waves that circled the planet. Scientists call them infrasounds, deep vibrations below human hearing, but they can be felt in the chest, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Across research stations, instruments recorded it, a pulse every 30 seconds, matching the rhythm of the planet's magnetic drift.
Volcanoes once buried for eons are now open scars. Mount Erebus, long dormant, roared to life, its summit blazing like a torch in the endless night. The ash plumes are rising higher than any storm clouds, mixing with the icy air to create black snow. Flakes of ash and ice falling together across the southern pole. The imagery is surreal, a world of fire and frost colliding. The sky itself flickers red and blue as volcanic lightning crackles across the clouds.
And it's not only Antarctica. The tectonic waves have awakened other volcanic chains across the globe, from Iceland's glaciers to Alaska's Aleutian Range. It's as if the Earth's internal clock struck midnight, and every sleeping volcano heard the same signal to rise. The magma that once flowed in hidden chambers now surges toward the surface, driven by a force older than the continents themselves.
But there's beauty in this destruction. As the ice melts, new land emerges, black rock steaming under auroras. The first outlines of a newborn continent are visible beneath the retreating ice sheets. Oceanographers say it's the beginning of something extraordinary, a new ocean forming between the split plates of Africa and Antarctica, the planet reshaping itself right before our eyes. Out of chaos, creation. Out of collapse, renewal.
We're witnessing the cycle of the Earth, the same power that built mountains and carved seas, now rewriting the map again. Civilization may not survive this unscathed, but the planet will. It always does. Beneath the storms, beneath the fear, there's a rhythm, one that reminds us that everything we've built stands on something alive. The world isn't dying, it's transforming.
This is Alex Mercer in Tokyo. If you can still hear our voices, know that we've reached the end of this transmission. Maybe the last one we'll ever send. For days, we've watched the planet unravel and rebuild itself, from quakes that split the crust to volcanoes that ignited the ice. And through it all, one truth has become clear. The Earth is not fragile, we are. The mountains will rise again. Oceans will form where cities once stood. The world will heal in time, long after we're gone. Humanity has always believed it could command nature, shape it, own it. But tonight, the Earth reminded us of something ancient. We are only guests here. Outside this small station, the horizon glows red from volcanic dawn. The air trembles with distant thunder, and somewhere beyond the static, you can still feel the heartbeat of a living planet. Slow, steady, unbroken. So, to whoever finds this broadcast, remember what we learned. We were here when the Earth spoke. We listened, and in its voice we heard both the end and the beginning.